A sexy, refreshing romance unlike any other. This is the damn worst book I've ever read, and I'm so fucking mad right now. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, first of all, before I say anything else, I hit 1K yesterday, and I'm already at 1.3K, and I can't thank you guys enough. I'm so excited. It's given me so much. It's just giving me it's lit a fire up my ass to just put out a ton of exciting videos. And I know for a lot of people, they're probably you literally just have 1.3K, chill. But I had so many people commenting on my videos yesterday, and I was gaining so many subscribers, and everyone was so nice. And I had people DMing me on Instagram. And it's just this is so nice. Seriously, it made my day. These past 3 days, I don't know what happened, but I've just been gaining so much. And thank you so much for subscribing if you did, if you watched my videos, if you commented, if you liked. It literally has made the past 3 days so exciting and fun. And that pretty much ends the happiness of this video. And I kind of feel bad because somebody recommended this book. 2 people asked me to read this book. And it's literally, I know that my last video was this is the worst book of 2018, but this is literally, and I say this not even being dramatic, this is the worst book I've read in my entire life. Entire life. So the book we're talking about today is Chasing Red by Isabel Ronan. I'm gonna be honest, I had 2 people recommend this book to me, and I was it must actually be a good book. So I went to Chapters, and I asked one of the girls there, and I'm do you know this book? And she's we're sold out of it. I just got my copy and I'm so excited. So I was damn, this must be a pretty good book if it's sold out and people at the store are reading it. Also, I know my hand isn't the same color as my face. We've been new. If you're not new, you know this. We just kind of accept it. But so I was damn, this must be a pretty good book. So I go back 3 weeks later. I got this 4 days ago. I read this in a day, and it actually took every fiber in my body to continue reading. It was that bad. I was I just need to keep reading it because I obviously want to do a review on it, and I want to make sure it didn't, I knew it wasn't going to get better, but I just wanted to make sure it didn't. So to give a brief synopsis, and I am telling you, if you have not read this book, accept the spoilers, because I would never want someone to spend $22.50 on this garbage. This is the worst book I've ever read. I'm not being dramatic. It is garbage. It's basically, let me just turn my ringer off. It's basically about this girl who is at a club, she's dancing, and some guy spots her, and then it turns out that she's homeless, and so she stays with him in his apartment, and they happen to go to the same university. And it's about she has serious daddy issues, he has serious daddy issues, and they literally, the entire book is him trying to bone her and her going, I'm not ready yet. And then they almost bone again, and then she's I'm not ready yet. I can't trust you. My dad was mean to me, or whatever the plot. It was the most one-dimensional plot I've ever read in my entire life. Whoever said this was Anna Todd, a sexy, refreshing romance unlike any other, this sounds like every single YA trope mushed together and created just the worst love child of romance YA I've ever read in my entire life. I will note though, when I did pick up the book, I knew this was going to be bad considering that it's a Wattpad book, and no offense to Wattpad, but they don't have the best track record when it comes to romance books. And this, I used to read Wattpad back in the day, when it was kind of how do I explain it? When it was first out, and it was this huge great platform for people to write. And it was I noticed that a lot of Wattpad books would be good for the first 5 chapters, and then you could tell that they would be running out of ideas, so they grab at whatever. And this book was the exact same. You could tell that she was just kind of grabbing at straws plot wise, and just recycled the exact same events over and over again, with these 2 fighting and then making up and then fighting and making up and fighting and making up. And then I knew this was going to happen because every Wattpad book has it, but suddenly some girl appears, and the girl that appears that is makes it a love triangle is always an old friend that, oh, she's not, don't worry about her. And of course the scene is she makes a move on the guy, and the girl finds out and she freaks out, but the guy wasn't into it. It was the most unoriginal book I've ever read in my entire life. That's a synopsis. I'm gonna get into specific reasons why, because, I mean, I have a lot to say. I mean, the cringe started on the first fucking page, because of course it did. Literally, you could just tell this is a Wattpad book by the way that she was writing it. Like the first sentence, the dance floor glowed as red and green laser beams shot out from the rotating lights in the ceiling. His ice blue eyes glittered in the dim light. What are you talking about? Like, I just hate, like, ice blue eyes are glimmering in the dim light. Is that what it says, dim light? Yeah. You're in a club. You would not be able to tell if someone had blue eyes, but I knew it was just one of those books. And so it goes on, they're, like, painting him as a lady killer. It's like, one of his friends goes, oh, that's the fourth chick you've turned down tonight, and we just got here. And Caleb, who's the guy, is like, I shrugged, saying that I was bored with meaningless sex and monotonous flirting seemed pretty pathetic. Like, this had such a contrived tone to it in terms of, like, girls that are conventionally pretty. Like, so much. You could just tell the girl had, like, a bone to pick with anybody who was blonde. Like, it was just ridiculous. And if you couldn't tell it was a Wattpad book already, it gets overtly sexual and just very awkward, like, from the second page. He literally goes, like, in the middle of the dance floor. A girl was dancing. No, scratch that. Gyrating. So sensually that I couldn't help but stare. She moved like ... sex comes to mind. Her short, tight dress covered her hourglass body like a second skin, seducing the dozens of eyes turned on her. And it was in a make me sin red. Damn. Like, who writes this dialogue? Who thinks like this? The dialogue in this book was atrocious. It was one of the worst things about the book, apart from the fact that the plot was just a joke. It was just terrible. So they meet at this club. She gets him out of a tight situation where, like, a girl that he hooked up with but doesn't like anymore tried to make a move on him, and she came up to him. They had not interacted at this point. She comes up to him and pretends to be his girlfriend, and then he tries to make a move on her, and she's like, never mind, and walks away. Then he follows her. She ends up being really drunk, and some guy was, like, trying to, like, take her or something. So he saves her, takes him in her car and whatever, and finds out that she is homeless. Because when you get kicked out of your place and you're homeless, you go to a club and spend money on alcohol. That totally makes sense to me. So I'm gonna skip most of the plot from there because it's so fucking predictable. You could probably already imagine what happens. They are living in the same house together, but they hate each other, but they're slowly starting to like each other. But the development, considering that it's literally about two people and it's, how many pages? Like 400 pages of this, I've never seen development so slow and so simple, like basic. It was painful. It was painful reading about these two people. I didn't like any character in this book. Every single person in this book just pissed me off. Then, of course, it just had to have one of those cringy moments where I hate when YA books do this. I'm just going to read it verbatim because you guys will know what I'm talking about as soon as I start reading it. So what happened was they went to a beach and they were, like, going to swim, and of course they knew they were going to swim, but they didn't bring swimsuits because this is a Wattpad book. Why would you bring a swimsuit swimming? Obviously you're gonna just go in your underwear. So he like takes off his clothes and, like, she's like, oh, like, I'm self-conscious, but then all of a sudden is like, I was tough, he didn't know me, I toed off my sneakers and took off my shirt, ignoring the surprised woes and catcalls around me. No one is ever doing this. When does this happen in real life? And why am I reading this? She continues and goes, let them look. I knew I looked good. Good enough that I'd had a short modeling stint until the photographer asked me to pose naked. And then goes on, I was wearing my best underwear, a matching lacy red bra and panties. I fucking hate that word. I hate the word panties so much. They weren't exactly new, but they still looked damn sexy. The next thing I knew, I was climbing on top of the railing, and seconds later, I was up in the air. I just sometimes, when people write shit like this, I'm like, do you get uncomfortable at the fact that an editor is looking this over and is like, oh, like, you went there. Like, this is basically a bootleg 50 Shades of Grey that has everything bad about 50 Shades of Grey in it, but the dialogue is even more awkward and just, oh, like, just so cringy. And throughout the book, there was this weird thing, and it kept coming up where, like, every single time, because, okay, her thing was she could stay in the house for free if she cooked for him, and every single fucking time she'd ask, what do you like to eat? He would always say, you, like, in the creepiest way, and he would, like, put in these creepy nicknames, like, from the get-go, when they first met, he would call her, like, baby girl and red. It's like, ew, like, ew, 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 like, I just, no, like, and the character himself was so lame. At one point, she detailed him wearing a shirt that at the back said, I was born ready. Like, please stop. Like, please stop putting details into this character because I already hate him and you're just making it worse. Also, throughout this book, everything, like, description-wise was just so sexualized. Like, at one point, Veronica details or describes one of her, like, future friends, Kara, as a tall, slim as Rose brunette. Why? Like, can you not just say she's a tall brunette? Like, I don't understand these weird, like, descriptions. They were so weird. And I already knew that I wasn't gonna like Kara's character because 3 fucking pages after, Kara and Veronica are at lunch and they spot Kara's ex with another girl, and Kara randomly goes up to him and is like, oh, I'm sorry, didn't you know? Kara's voice dripped with fake sympathy. He needs drugs to get it up. It's going to be very short, very soft ride for you, sweetie. Ta-ta for now. Who goes up, like, I already knew she's gonna be one of those characters is like, that's trying to be super, oh, I'm so outspoken and I'm super, like, open about, like, my sexuality and, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know those typecast friends? I knew that she was gonna be penned as that, but every fucking interaction she had in the book just made me want to, like, burn this book. It's so cringy and terrible. Then, because apparently in university classes are 10 people, and apparently people pass notes in university even though they fully have laptops, and apparently professors care so much that they would take the note and read it in front of the entire class, because apparently in Wattpad world this happens. Caleb, like, passed a note to Veronica, and it said something like, what did it say? I'm not sorry I kissed you last night. So the prof, like, got it and read it out loud, or I think one of his friends read it out loud for him, and she, like, freaked out. She's like, you don't owe me, blah, 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 blah. Like, I literally... This book even gives me a migraine talking about it. They also both had the shortest tempers and, like, were just so stupid. Like, Caleb, after that instance, she was like, okay, I didn't like that you did that. Like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, why would you, like... That's just weird in general. Like, no one gives a fuck if you guys kiss. Like, why are you parading that around to the entire school? And he literally goes, fine, and then leaves, and then they're in a fight again. They got in a fight every 15 pages over the dumbest shit. I'm like, I don't want to read this anymore. Like, please let me stop reading this. And then another example of Kara just being so fucking weird. She would always throw in these weird lines that you could tell that the author was trying to, like, make her seem, like, very different and, like, I don't care, I have these zany things to say. She said at one point, what's up with you? You've been moping around like you've swallowed the wrong dick. Who says that? Like, I've never heard that saying in my entire life. It's just stuff like that. I was like, this is fucking god awful. And then would say, like, she was just overly explicit and it didn't match with the book very well. Like, I feel like the writer was trying to make this book a lot more scandalous, but in reality, it literally just was a typical Wattpad book. She would literally put, like, oh, plus, I already love you, bitch. Like, I don't mind swearing in books. Like, I swear, I don't mind it. But when you can tell that, like, the writer is throwing it in, like, to try and be like, I'm zany, I'm up and with the times, I'm explicit, like, why are you doing this? This is so awkward to read. So throughout the book, we then learn that Caleb also has daddy issues. His mom and dad are getting a divorce. We learn that, oh wow, rich people can have problems too. Great. So we have a homeless person with daddy issues who's living with a rich person with daddy issues. They are more alike than we thought on the surface. Like, wow, I did not expect that at all. Then she had this weird thing where, like, she was, like, hooking up with him and was like, we're just friends. Like, we're just friends. I live with you and I care about you, but, like, we're just friends. And he's like, what in the fuck? Which, fair enough. That was, I think, the only time that I agreed with Caleb. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, but at the same time, Caleb was so overly possessive. He was literally that Christian Grey guy, like, so overly possessive. The more I think about this, this is literally just a bootleg 50 Shades of Grey. Like, so bad. So bad. So bad. Like, the cringe level I'm talking about is they were in a cafeteria, and he's in the hallway and yells, "Everyone, she's mine. If you touch even a hair on her head, I will hunt you down. Now spread the word far and wide." I heard people laugh and cheer. Someone said, "You're the man, Lockhart." As in, like, you're the man, Caleb. Do writers know what's... Like, sometimes I read these books and I'm like, did you go to high school or college? Like, do you know what you're talking about? Like, is this what you wished happened? Because I don't. I would not want to be on the receiving end of this. If I saw this happen in real life, I would literally cringe in real life too. This is so fucking weird. And then throughout the book, Kara has like this big bone to pick with Caleb because he's like a womanizer throughout the book until he meets Veronica, of course. And Kara meets him like once. And I kid you not, I think they're all talking together for 10 minutes. And Kara goes, "Don't be a moron. He really, really likes you," she whispered. Were you not just... You spent the first like 200 pages of the book saying, be wary, be like... You don't know, like, he could be a dick. Like, and within 10 minutes, you're like, go away. Then there was this really weird party scene where, like, a local band played and everyone was chanting the guy's name, which would never happen in real life. Ever. Like, I honestly wish I kept a tally of things that were just ridiculous and would never actually happen in real life, because this book was just full of them. So then this character called Beatrice Rose is introduced, and as we all know, with every Wattpad book, they've got to throw one person in to make that a love triangle. And of course, the girl is always like super rich or has some sort of like power where she, I don't know, is like has an advantage. So her deal is she's rich. She was childhood friends with Caleb, and they like lost their virginities to each other. And we learn that, there's, like, she wants to get back with him, and he didn't realize that, so they go to dinner. She is like, "Oh, like, I'm having panic attacks. My dad is, he has dementia, and, like, can you come over, blah, blah, blah." So then her dad has an episode when they're there, so apparently, like, before, if she had a panic attack, Caleb would, like, lay down beside her and sleep with her. So she's like, "Please, like, do it, like, for me, like, I'm really stressed out, like, my dad just had an episode," like, I don't fucking know. So he does, and then she rapes him, like, she actually tries to rape him. He was asleep, and she started kissing him, and tried to rape him, and it was ridiculous. She's, like, making out with him as he's dreaming, thinking that it's Red, Veronica, he calls her Red, because of course he fucking does, and he wakes up and she's like, "Oh my God," or he's like, "Oh my God, what the hell are you doing?" as she's trying to unzip his jeans. And that's all that's talked about. There's no sort of like, "Hey, she just raped you," like, or attempted to rape you. Like, nothing like that. He literally just goes, "Don't talk about this again." Like, what? What do you... Why? Like, why am I reading this? Like, this is so fucking bad. Like, you had one job. Give me a bad book. Give me a bad book, but for fuck's sake, can you give me proper repercussions for literal attempted rape? Like, can you just do that for me? And so one of Caleb's friends turns out to be like hired by her, because that's tangible. Why would you do that? Like, why are you paying somebody to look after a guy or monitor him? I don't fucking get it. I don't get this book. I don't fucking get it. And he, like, is behind, like, I don't know what he's fucking doing. He's trying to, like, sabotage Red and Caleb because, of course, it's a Wattpad book. I bought a Wattpad book, and I'm still not fucking over it. Then, these fucking characters have been dating for maybe a goddamn month, and Caleb is talking about how they are going to get married because... Of course they are. They're gonna get married. They've been seeing each other for a month, and the entire month they've been fighting every 5 minutes. Yes, marriage material. I like it. Then we just had these really fucking awkward lines where I'm almost certain that a 10-year-old edited this. He's horny like a unicorn during mating season. And if you were wondering who said that, it was Kara. It's always Kara. It's always her. I want to read out these awkward, like, sex scenes, but I can't because I actually think I'd combust and die, and I don't want that on the internet. I would almost say, if this is still available on Wattpad, give it a read to see how ridiculous it is. So also throughout the book, there was this thing where Veronica was obsessed with peanut butter. And so Caleb would like give her peanut butter. And Caleb at one point has a flashback over halfway through the book and is like, he realizes that he's actually met Veronica before when he was like 8 years old, and he gave her a peanut butter sandwich. And I don't know what we're supposed to do with this information. I think like this was supposed to be like, oh my God, they were meant to be together. Like, no, why am I reading this? Like, no. Then Caleb just does really creepy stuff. Like he collects strands of Red's hair, Veronica's hair, and picks it up and places it in between the pages of his book, because why not? And then the book eventually reaches the spot where Veronica finds out about Beatrice trying to hook up with Caleb, and because he was initially a womanizer, she thinks that he was actually trying to get with her, and she thinks it's because she wasn't putting out, and it's actually kind of left off on a cliffhanger. We're gonna call it that. She leaves it off at, Red is running after Caleb to say like, oh my God, no, like I believe you now. And I can tell you right now, I'm not buying the second book. I can't believe I spent $22 on the first one. This is just the worst book I've ever read, and I feel really bad because I don't know if the two people that recommended it for me genuinely liked it, or if they wanted me to read it because they wanted me to rant about it. But if you did like this book, I'm really sorry, but this is literally a pile of garbage. I think this is the worst book I've ever read in my life. If you liked this video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Comment down below if you've read this book before, or if you haven't read it, if you're planning on reading it, if you're gonna pick it up or not. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. And yeah, thanks so much for watching.